I'm always nervous about some dumb shit.
You know, we all have our our things, yes. But
Love your nails.
thanks. I just got them done. Joya.
That's so funny. We're gonna talk about that because Joya did Karen's nails too.
Okay, I heard that part,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, Joya. I know her.
I do I do I'm totally ADHD.
That's okay.
Like as you can see when she was crossing your fingers, I was just like,
That thing.
what are you doing
What
with
are
the
you doing?
can you cross your fingers like that? Like I don't
Well, you can do it.
but hers were like naturally
Like really, really?
like I can't do that.
Well, what does your thumb do? Because okay, so yours do what mine do. My husband thinks that's the weirdest thing because his like will not go backwards. It was like straight up.
No, you give a thumbs up.
Yeah, right? It goes backs up, right? Like, I don't know. His is literally like it's straight. Like it doesn't go backwards at all. First time I gave him a thumbs up, he was like, "What is wrong with your thumb?"
I mean, what is wrong with your thumb?
Yeah.
My thumbs are perfect.
My thumb's fine. Yay.
Well, Miss Emma Romo.
Yes. That's my maiden.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
So I grew up Emma Romo. I'm now Emma Romo Haisten. So
okay.
my married name is Haisten.
Haisten. And do you do the hyphenated?
No, so Romo I changed into my middle name, and Haisten is now my last name, but I still kind of go by Romo publicly to some extent because people just know me as Emma Romo.
It's really weird with names, right? Because I go by James Edward Schulz,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I sign things, it's always James Edward Schulz.
It has to be the full.
I don't know why. I don't know. Like, and they always, the people who assassinate everybody has 3 names, right?
Yeah.
Like all of them have 3 names.
3 names.
Like,
I mean, I do, but yeah. I don't know.
I'm not going to assassinate anybody. Just so everybody knows.
Ideal.
Well, again, I really thank you for coming on this podcast, episode number 2. So Paradox Fitness.
Yeah.
I love that place.
Thank you.
I've been paying a fat tax for since August. And I just got back into the gym about 2 months ago. So
Okay.
it's really just, I love everything that happens to me when I dedicate myself, you know what I mean, to that change.
Well, I'd love to hear that because that's what we are there for. It's not just a gym. I think that it is a tool for people to navigate through life or struggles or find strength they didn't know they had. And yeah, there's like the physical aesthetic part of things, but I think that a lot of people have been able to use the space as a outlet or healing or whatever it might be for each individual person. That's kind of been our goal with creating that space.
Well, and it starts in the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paradox.
Yeah.
I wrote some things down.
Okay.
Right? Because I was brainstorming on what paradox means, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a situation that seems contradictory.
Yeah.
Paradox, right? And that is like fitness in a way. You know what I mean? Strength comes from struggle, balance in between the discipline and freedom.
Yeah.
Right? So the more discipline that you have, the more freedom it kind of becomes because your body is becoming that tool to be able to make you do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
That staying fit is both simple and complex.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So was that like when you came up with that name, Paradox Fitness?
Yeah. I mean, for me, initially, it was the realization that getting fit and being able to do the things that I love to do actually took doing a little bit less than I always thought it had.
Sure.
So growing up when I got into fitness, gosh, in college time, yeah, I just thought I had to do more, and it had to be so strict and so regimented. And then after I had my son, that was just not possible anymore. I was a new mom, and I didn't have the time, and I had to actually take a step back and do a little bit less. And I made the most progress strength-wise, physically, mentally than I ever had before. So for me, that paradox was like, wow, it's a contradiction of what I think some people think fitness has to be.
Sure.
So yeah, and it just stems out from there. Like,
So with your workout personally,
mhm.
how long does it take for you to get it in?
It fluctuates, and it really just depends on like what,
Day it is.
yeah, and what I'm currently focused on. So like if I'm lifting to build strength, like a powerlifting type, I want to build strength. That takes a lot longer because my rest times are longer.
Sure.
So I might have a strength workout that goes close to 2 hours because I'm resting for 5 minutes between sets, and then I find things I need to do around the gym. But realistically, like I try to keep my workouts to hour and a half max. Yeah, and usually the last like 15-20 minutes is me cooling down, walking on the treadmill, and then going and stretching. So like I'm not sweating, pumping iron for a straight hour and a half. And if I do an hour-long workout, I'm like, sweet, I got through it. Like I didn't get interrupted today. I was efficient. This was awesome. But yeah, I think that depending on people's goals too, like it could be done even less than that. So I worked with a couple of women who are so busy that like they got 45 minutes and we're like, okay, in, out, do it, make it effective, and let's get out of there.
Get it.
Yeah.
Get it. So I'm infamous, the last one, from not starting where I wanted to in my standpoint of this interview.
Okay.
We kind of jumped ahead of some things, but
Okay. Rewind.
rewind. So where were you born?
I was born in, well, Carson City, Nevada, just because that's where my mom's doctor was.
Okay.
But I grew up in Mammoth. Oh, did you? Raleigh. Yeah. So gosh, I don't really remember when we moved to Crowley, but I was young enough to not remember that. So we lived in Mammoth for a little bit, and then my parents bought property in Crowley, and I grew up. School in Mammoth. Yeah. My half sister went to school down here at Bishop. And my half brother, kind of went back and forth between Bishop and Mammoth, and so he lived with us part time, and his mom sometimes part time. So yeah,
What year did you graduate?
2008.
Oh, okay.
So
You're young, man.
I don't feel young anymore though. Now I'm like, I coach high school kids, and how much older am I than you? But
Bro, I'm gonna be 47 in August.
no way.
Yeah.
Well, you don't look it, so that's, yeah.
All of the clean living. No, but the years of alcoholism kept me pickled.
Well, there you go, preservatives.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the biggest changes for me, was becoming sober. And then finding yourself again.
Mhm.
I did work at a gym for like 3 years in Eureka, California.
Okay.
It's called Power and Fitness,
Go.
and it was one of those meathead gyms. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I worked out with this dude named Jamie, or he was my co-worker. He was a professional bodybuilder.
Okay.
Sub 4'9", I think, is his handle on Instagram. And he is 4'8.5", and he was 183 pounds.
What? Wow.
He was huge.
That's a lot of muscle mass.
Yes, and I mean, fully juiced to the gills. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like a lot of those, a lot of, because it was a meathead gym, you had a lot of those big giant meatheads coming through. So I started working out with those guys.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And like, I really, it's fun to get back to that routine of not living in the gym, but going. I pretty much go every day. I think for the past 2 months, I missed like 3 days.
That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, you have a connection to fitness too.
There was like gym life. Working at a gym is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So nuts, man.
Yeah.
Either like, there was this one time, like, there was a lot of homeless people in downtown, because we were right on the 101.
Mhm.
We would be on the southbound side of the 101, and there was transients, and I remember this guy walked through the door, and I was like, "Can I help you?" And he just focused in on a young, attractive lady, and he was like, "I see what I want." And he just started walking towards her, So me and the other person working, like, I hopped over, had some dudes come and give me some backup, but like, there's some wild things that happen in a gym.
Yeah.
You get those rages, you get like the people who are depressed and crying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've noticed our panic buttons yet.
Yes.
Why we have those in there for, I don't know, emergency situations like that.
So what took you to a life of fitness?
Well, I grew up in sports. I mean, I played soccer when I was young. I was on AYSO. I played into high school. And then I also grew up skiing and snowboarding.
Soccer girls are mean.
Well, yes. Hence, eventually I dropped out of soccer. I got into, let's see, it was my junior year. They had just brought back the snowboard team in Mammoth.
Oh, cool.
When I was a sophomore, and my sister joined the snowboard team, and I was like, no, that's silly. I'm not gonna go ride with Leonard, you know. And I wanted to do soccer, and then my sister had so much fun that next year I tried it and ditched soccer because I was like, I never play anyways. I'm not good enough. And I fell in love with snowboarding. And snowboarding was like my outlet. Ugh. I was in in high school, we're all in weird times, right? But that was like my healing spot. I was able to be on the mountain. I felt free. I didn't have any of the troubles. And so I really got into snowboarding. After high school, um, I went to community college in Mammoth and did a little bit of general education at Saracoso, snowboarded then, met my now husband actually in college there. He had moved up from Big Bear for snowboarding. And so, yeah, snowboarding just kind of became my life, and I pursued that as a career for a little while. Coached snowboarding for the Mammoth team, and then I went to college. I finally decided when I was 22, I kind of knew what I wanted to focus on. So I went to school for I went to school in Tahoe, and it was on the snowboard team up there and competed. Got into lifting through the snowboard team, basically. I started kind of on my own just to try to be healthy. Once I had stopped strength. Yeah, build up strength, and just once I had stopped participating in swim team, because I don't know if I mentioned I was on swim team too growing up. And so once swim team was over and soccer was over and organized like snowboarding was over, I didn't have a way to really stay in shape, you know? And so I just sort of got into it on my own because I knew I needed to do something.
That's fantastic.
And then it just grew from there a bit. Like, I maybe got a bit obsessive where I was like, yeah, I've never been able to do all this before. Like, I want to go see what I can do.
Yeah.
That's one of the neat things about, getting physically fit, getting stronger, right? It gives you that drive to like, well, I did this much last time. How much can I do now?
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of exciting to focus on those, the strength-based goals. Sure. It's like what I really talk about with my clients a lot is like, don't worry about how you look. Like, aesthetics like might be important, but like let's not have that be the priority. Like,
Right.
let's focus on how many of this exercise can you do, like how many reps, or what weight did you lift, and it kind of makes it a little more exciting. So I really got into it kind of around that, and just thought it was fun and cool. And
How did you come to open a gym?
well, gosh, so there's a long story. And I'll try to be brief.
We got an hour.
That's okay. So after being an athlete and growing up athletic, I had this goal to eventually make snowboarding a career in some way, shape, or form. What that looked like, I had no idea yet, and I didn't even know how. Whether it would be through contests or through just a lifestyle approach to it, and being represented by or representing a brand or something. I just wanted to integrate it into my life. And so in 2020, is it? No, 20. Yeah, it was like 2019, end of 2019. I found out I was pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay, well, people have kids and can go be athletes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had witnessed a friend of mine, Kimmy Fasani, go through, who was a professional snowboarder in Mammoth, married to Chris Benchetler, a professional skier in Mammoth.
Sure.
And they had a kid, a couple years, I think like 2 years prior to me getting pregnant. And I witnessed them doing this, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just gonna have a kid and go do the same thing, and my life will just be exactly the same, and I'll go, um, just the kid will go with me wherever I go, he'll just be on the mountains. Um, and then we got shut down, COVID stuff. We got all locked down, and so, um, right prior to, um, the the time that everything, like, built up, like, um, or the market, like, increased of time, housing market and stuff, my husband and I found a home in Big Pine because prior to me getting pregnant, we were living in our motorhome, just kind of doing off-grid camping slash moving around to try to get by, basically.
Right.
We lived in the RV park in Crowley for winters, and then throughout the summer, we would go back and forth between like Lee Vining and Crowley and Mammoth, and we would just save our money. But being pregnant, I was like, I don't want to do winter in a motorhome with a kid. Like, I need to.
Your child needs their own space.
Yeah, we need something more stable. And so we saved up money and we started looking and we found something in Big Pine that was a foreclosure and we could afford it. And so we ended up in Big Pine. Now,
Are you still in
mid now? Yeah.
So I love Big Pine.
Yeah, it's a good spot. It took me a while to adjust. I was really far from the mountains, but I love it. And I love it down here. Bishop and Big Pine has the community that I feel that Mammoth lost a long time ago. And my heart kind of started breaking for that.
Mammoth is crazy.
Because like there's almost no locals anymore up there.
Yeah.
Like everybody's a transplant, pretty much.
It's really hard.
80% of the population up there is a transplant.
Yeah.
There's still locals, you know what I mean?
But they're few.
Far and few between. So in the snowboarding industry growing up, did you know like Jana and Jeff and all the awesomes?
I knew them through my brother. So my brother kind of is the reason I got into snowboarding. Ben Romo. I don't know if you know him. But Ben went to school down here a bit. But he snowboarded and I wanted to do what Ben did because I just thought it was so cool. And I remember he had this old Kemper snowboard with like a rope on the front and like,
Oh my God.
yeah. Neon colors I saw on the top sheet. And he set me up on that thing. It didn't have bindings, but I'd hold onto the rope and we had this sidewalk next to our driveway that went downhill like towards our dog kennels. And I just would stand on that thing and he pushed me off and I'd go down and balance and yeah, with the rope on front, and I would just do that all day. So
My brother, it was like, I really, probably like 1990 or so, he bought a Burton Craig Kelly Air
oh yeah.
board, right? And then I wanted one so bad, and my dad was able to get me one, and it was a wooden Budweiser display board. All wood, had metal edges, and so back then you couldn't go on the mountain, right? It was two plankers only. So he would take us out to the backcountry on snowmobiles, and that's where I learned how to snowboard. Was just powered, like it was really fun. I never kept it because we would go for school, right? And it was always skis.
Yeah.
The ski team, you know what I mean? And like the cool kids that I hang out with, my peers who I looked up to were all skiers.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the thing, right? So
Doing a back scratcher in my hair, hearing me, like all those stuff.
yeah.
My good friend Ken Sexton, R.I.P. Ken, love you, buddy. He was phenomenal on skis, and that inspired me to not really be a snowboarder as much as it was to try to ski and keep up with those dudes.
Yeah. I mean, they're both cool now, so.
Yeah, right.
It's
an eclectic mix.
Yes, it is.
Back to the Paradise thing. Yeah. So we know your background. We know what got you into the fitness thing, and we were just divulging into what got you to open
Paradox.
up your gym. Did you work at other gyms? Have you been in physical training, personal training?
So basically, yeah, I brought up my son, I guess, basically because like after I had him, I had learned that my body did not work the way I was used to it working. Like,
sure,
as an athlete, everything was just natural to me before. There were so many things that never had to think about. It just like was part of myself. And after I had my son, nothing worked anymore the way I thought it would. It completely changes you. like physically, mentally, all the things. And not only like that was really frustrating for me. It was really hard because I connected so much with physical activity as like part of who I was, my identity, and just like what I liked to do. And then trying to go out and like the first time I jumped on a dirt bike, I felt like my whole insides were gonna like fall out of me. Oh, and that was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And yeah, so just because when you have a kid, like your core, it just completely loses its naturals.
I have a baby.
You have a baby in there. And so I I started just kind of educating myself, like, what can I do? This can't be how my life is now. And so I just started reading and looking online, finding.
No, you're self-motivated, pride inspiring. That's so good.
And so I've learned a lot and wanted to start sharing that with other women because I was like, my gosh, like if I went through this, like where were the resources for me? Like I had to piece so many things together to figure out how to get back to my normal activity.
Sure.
That I wanted to create a space for other women that was kind of already there. And so I bought my personal training certification while I was home. Everything was still locked down. So I was like, well, I'm not working. I can read books, and just sort of started experimenting and getting into that. And I knew also that once things started opening back up, like, all right, well, I got to go back to work. Like, we can't just live off of one person's salary right now.
This economy.
No, exactly. So, my goal was to create an online coaching business.
Oh, cool.
So, Paradox Fitness actually started out as an online coaching business. And that's what I did. I had clients online. I wanted to do my best to build it to a level that I was making a realistic income off of it
Right.
for us.
Right.
And I just worked my butt off on that for a while. And I did work at a local gym here for 3 years once everything started opening back up, got back into being able to use real weights and not just the weights in my basement at home, which was really fun. And I just learned a lot that was like 3 years. I think I worked there for 3 years.
Oh,
And yeah, the next part gets a little tricky because I had some desires to make something more in Bishop, like I would go to gyms outside of Bishop
Yeah.
and
Yes.
when we were on vacation and I'd be like, man, it'd be so great if Bishop could have a place like this. Or
Power and Fitness was 2 stories.
that's amazing.
Right. And the second story we had, like there was a boxing ring up there.
That's so cool.
Right. And then it was most of the like the treadmills and whatnot was upstairs, and downstairs was like all the weights and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
it's one of the most refreshing things of walking into your gym is the size of it. You know what I mean? Like it's nice. There's plenty of room, and like it does get crowded at times, which is pretty crazy considering how large it is.
Yeah. I seen some busy nights in there where I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of people right now. So
Yeah,
it's
it's really neat.
so but yeah, so I always looked at other things and I had kind of connected with the owner of the gym where I worked about somehow getting involved or I offered to buy equipment if I could, like we need more, we need X, Y, or Z. And at one point it had sounded like there was a potential to either buy it or buy into it. But it always kind of got like brushed under. And I didn't feel anytime that I seemed to bring it up, I got the impression that it was not a conversation that was gonna happen. And so I sort of just backed off and was like, okay, but I'm not gonna be pushy on it.
Right.
Uh,
That motivated you.
yeah, I mean, I kind of started looking around Bishop just to see what other spaces there might be. And I didn't find a whole lot. There really was not much available size-wise and price-wise that would make sense. And when I connected with the owner at Bishop Plaza, he didn't have anything available, but he started following me on my Instagram, Paradox Fitness Instagram. He's like, yeah, I may have something in like a year or two. And I'm like, oh, really? A year or two? Like, that's a long time. But I said, okay, yeah, like, let me know if anything comes up. I don't know if this is feasible, but I think it'd be cool. And so I put together like a rough business idea, like business plan for it. I did some rough pricing of what it would take to open a gym. And then it just lived in my computer bag for like the next year and a half. And sure enough, year and a half later, he reached out to me and was like, hey, so the church just gave their notice and I wanted to ask you, are you interested in the space? And I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, yes, but I have no idea if I can even make this happen. Like,
my gosh.
I don't know. Like, I don't have.
It's a huge step.
It's huge. Yeah. I didn't have money. I didn't. My dad had just passed away that September.
Yeah.
So my dad had. Yeah, we lost my dad September 2022, and I had. Like, we didn't get anything from that. There was a whole nother mess of things that happened after his passing. And so it was just, a lot of people think that my dad died, I inherited money, and I opened this gym.
No.
That was like really frustrating to hear. And I heard that from a couple people, like the things going around the rumor mill.
It's those people that, like I'm a Trulls. My dad owns Trulls Concrete, right?
Mhm.
Like, and they're like, oh, you had an easy life. It's like, no, my dad made Trulls Concrete.
Mhm.
When I was a kid, we supplemented our food by hunting.
Yeah.
I had my hunting license when we were 9. We were dirt poor until he made the moves for himself to open up Trulls Concrete.
That's incredible.
You know what I mean? And like, he's self-made. Like, I'm so proud of him. But and it's, no offense to him or my family, but I don't get kickbacks from that. He worked hard for his stuff, and he wanted to see me work hard for mine.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, here's a bunch of money,
Yeah.
like buy a car or do whatever you want. No, it was nose to the grindstone and make yourself in this world.
Yeah, and that's what makes that's what gives people good work ethic, and I think and that's actually what benefited me in the long run, because I literally was like, I don't know how I can do this. I approached several potential business partners that were just like, I can't, like, I can't give you that money right now. And I was like, ready to go, okay, well, like, I can't do this. I have $126 in my bank account. I don't have a job. I have some online clients, but like, that's not consistent yet.
That's hilarious. I think I just looked at my bank account. I was at 140. I'm 147, yo. Payday's on Friday.
Yay! But yeah, so I was like, I don't know if this is even feasible. I put together a more official business plan, a more official like startup cost, and did my best at pricing out what my expenses are going to be and how I could make it happen. And approached a couple investors. And fortunately, I had an angel investor who had been watching what I had built from the start of like my Paradox Fitness to where I'd gotten it to at that point, who said, listen, I've seen your work ethic. I believe in you. And I love what you've put together, and you need to make this happen. And he's the reason that Paradox exists, because
So dope.
if he had not been that angel investor, I still pay him back every month. But
That's what investors are. You know what I mean?
exactly. And so that's how Paradox kind of came to be. And I think I was ready to take that leap into actually making it happen and figuring out how to make it happen, because having just lost my dad, so sorry. Thank you. Yeah, it was very unexpected and quick. But I just knew that I couldn't just wait. Like, it really, it gives you a different perspective on life, I guess. And
You got my shot, like Eminem says.
yeah, go and shop. That's true. So yeah, that's how it came into being. My dad had recently, like, because he saw me building my online business and talking about personal training, he was like, Emma, you should just become a YouTuber. And I was like, well, it's not that easy.
I wish it was, right? Because you see those,
Yeah.
it seems like the recipe is it could be so easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like to get followers is the toughest thing to get.
Yeah.
It really seems to be, you need to have somebody that finds you who already is in that side of things,
Yeah.
right? Whether it be like a comedian or a social media guy or a company, and then they put it out there, right? And then it just catches fire. But that
Yeah.
fire is so far and few between. It's so hard to spark that fire.
Yeah. And it just takes that work and continuing to do it. I mean, I can't tell you how many posts I put on my Instagram that I was like, oh, nobody cares, but I'm still over here doing it because,
I
like,
feel the same way.
you just got to be consistent.
I do that all the time, man.
Keep doing it because,
Like in my business, you know what I mean? At Stone Cloud, like I make posts all the time when people are like, I didn't see it till 3 days after you made it. And I'm like, well, I guess I have to pay to get that blue check mark then, right?
maybe, see, I didn't even know you had an Instagram for over there. So reach out. I will follow you. I'll support you. I want to see people succeed. And that is kind of been my drive in Paradox too, is like, I've had so many people approach me, and if I can be a platform to help other people succeed, you know, I want to be that platform.
For sure.
How can I support you?
For sure. And that's kind of why I made this podcast, right?
I love it.
Not only to get like there was, to me, I seen a gap in between media and people getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Butthurt Owens Valley, which
Yeah.
I stepped away from. Fuck y'all, Butthurt. Just kidding. Love you guys.
So it's great. I loved it. I was cracking up all the time.
It became like, I have had death threats. I've been threatened, to get beat up. People dig into my past.
Mhm.
Like there's so much, like it became lately the catalyst, the straw that broke the camel's back. That's a very famous white person saying. Is I couldn't go anywhere in town without somebody talking to me about some bullshit
Yeah.
that was on Butthurt Owens Valley.
Yeah. I could.
And I'm just like, that's not me. I didn't like that page.
Yeah.
I tried to change it from where it was as a burn page in the beginning to have some rules and try to be a little bit more positive.
Mm-hmm.
So I included, if you made that post, like you have to use the words butthurt, not treat it like, oh, here's my kitten and I want to get likes because I don't on my personal profile.
Right.
Right. That was a huge thing. So
Yeah.
there was just this huge, there is still this huge gap. Like there's plenty of media sources here and they do a great job at getting the news out there. But if there's no where like to get to know somebody one-on-one.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Like, because, I've known of you, right? I did follow your Paradox Fitness, and that's before I became sober and I was kicking it, the idea around becoming sober and getting fit again. But there was a huge gap. Nobody, you know what I mean? We need to get to know the owners of the businesses, gracefully, Mayor Karen Kong came on here for the first one. People might not really know who she is, right? And like, I think it's very important to, let the community know who they're supporting. A local girl,
Yeah.
right? With just like dreams.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what life is about? Like, we are all, especially with social media, which I utilize as a platform for marketing, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And I connect with a lot of people that way. But like, we're all just real people, right? And there's so much more to us than just, I mean, just like I said, people thought my dad died. I inherited money and I opened a gym. And I'm like, nope, that is not the story at all. Like, and think what you want to think. But thank you for creating this. Thanks, because it was like, I really think that getting to know the people that are behind so many of the things that make Bishop,
Right.
our community, what it is. Like,
It's such a beautiful community.
yeah,
You know
it
what I
really
mean?
is.
Like the locals, there's so many people that come through my shop that are, they hang around for a couple of days, whether they're in town in Mammoth or in Bishop for the spring, or they're climbers who are, just kind of here for the season or whatever it may be. They're just like,
people here are so awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's Bishop, dude. Like, we're just a bunch of really genuine people, just, happy, and we're happy that you're here.
Yeah.
Most of us are happy that you're.
Well, that's the thing. So when I worked in Mammoth after high school, people would come up from, other areas and start working up there as, transient workforce. And they were like, everyone here is so nice. And it's like, yeah, because we're all friends, we're neighbors. But that started to disappear
Right.
as the locals
Yeah.
disappeared
Right.
because they couldn't afford it anymore.
Right.
But what I've found is that Bishop and Big Pine still has that community that I loved about Mammoth so much that has completely almost disappeared from Mammoth.
In the 80s and 90s, Mammoth was just so unique. It was so special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of people knew about the east side of the Sierra.
Yeah.
And the only way that they did was, it was just, it was people telling other people about it. Not like I made this social media post of me in Buttermilk and I'm the only one there. And there's just endless bouldering to be happening. You know what I mean? And then like that post, and it starts that fire,
Mm-hmm.
to where you go up to, there's a porta potty up there.
Yeah.
Right.
In butter.
What they call the Buttermilks. But it's crazy. I went up into Coyote Flats and there was 40 people up there. Wow. When I used to go to Buttermilk with the homies and we would be alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody up there. And it's just, the modern times, and it's fine, right? We need tourism. We are a tourist-based economy. We need those people here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely is what it kind of goes down to. And Bishop needs to grow.
Yeah.
Like if it doesn't grow, it's just going to be a tumbleweed that's just going to blow off in the wind. And like we need people with those, like we need that culture. We need those people coming in here. And I think it's definitely a good thing. I love your nails.
Thank you.
Who did those?
Joya.
Bro, 2 for 2, Joya. 2 for 2, Joya.
Joya is, yeah. I don't know if she was sure about my choice in yellow, but I'm loving it. So
Yellow's my favorite.
springtime,
A lot of people don't pin me for yellow being my favorite color, but it is my favorite.
Oh yeah.
So what do you think has changed since the beginning? Because you kind of started in a COVID era of your fitness journey began pre-COVID at the gym.
As far as like where I worked before, or like me personally?
Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I would say fitness was just something I did. Like I did strength training because I thought it was fun. And
Yeah.
I probably did it.
Being strong is really fun.
It is fun. But I also, I'm not going to lie, I initially did it for aesthetics. Like I was at an age in my life where I was like, no, I don't want to, I want to look good and feel good.
Everybody else would be like, I want to be nice to look at.
Yeah, right?
So, try to do.
That's where it started. But after COVID and after having my son, it became just a lot more than that, because that was literally like my me time. I would wake up at 3:45 in the morning because my son did not nap for more than 20 to 30 minutes at a time. And I wanted to work out, but I could not. And he was not one of those kids that would just sit and watch me do things. He was very needy, and like losing it needy, where I was like, of course I've got mom hormones. And I'm like, let me protect you, pick you up. But yeah, so that was kind of where I think I call it my second passion. Fitness is my second passion, because that's where I really connected with it and it becoming such a big part of my life, because it was my me time. Like I would get up, I'd do my workout from, 4 to 5 o'clock. I'd do some stretching. Kid would be up, ready to eat. Like then I was mom for the rest of the day, because my husband worked. He was an essential employee, so he's like, well, bye, we'll just be here.
Oh, that was so weird. I worked for the county at the landfill at the time, so I was an essential employee. And my ex Amanda worked at Powell's, and California the United States deemed that dispensaries were essential employees, right? Because people needed the reefer.
Yeah.
So we both did stay gainfully employed. But my question was, have you seen a change in the industry since your beginning up until now? Like what people are particularly trying to do in the gym? Is it?
I feel that strength like fitness has just become so trendy right now. You know, sure, everyone wants to work out. And I think that it's people are really focusing on health now more than being like stick thin or like
Right.
the tiniest they can be. It was a thing. It was a thing when I was growing up. It was a thing. Yeah, I think that what I've noticed is just like people want to be strong. Like guys and girls want to feel good and be strong and not starve and be able to go out and like do things and feel good in their skin and have confidence. And I think that I think that's a really good thing. Like um it's it shouldn't be, I don't know, we should want to be healthy. Like I think health is becoming a trend and that's a good thing. I'm glad people want to be healthy.
I think the hardest part is just starting,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Right. Do you have any advice for anybody out there that might be on the fence?
Yeah. As far as like just doing fitness, like sometimes going and showing up for a workout and thinking like, go. Hi Kyle. I'm not Kyle. I don't know Kyle, but
Kyle works at he's Kyle from Kyle Roberts. He works at
oh yes, he goes to my gym. I know Kyle. Yes, you do. But yeah, I think that where was I?
For somebody just to start, right? Like
start.
being on the fence, like I don't have the time,
Mhm.
I don't have the confidence. I've talked to a lot of people about, I'm never going to go to a gym, and I'm like, why? And they're like, well, for one, you're becoming very vulnerable,
Mhm.
right?
For sure.
It's you're in there, and there's always that stigma of I need to lift heavy so people can see me lift heavy. Like, bro, I don't lift heavy. Right. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, like I said, I'm gonna be 47 this year. So like my joints from a lifetime of concrete are just, they've had it.
Yeah.
I have to protect my joints. I have to, build up those smaller muscles, you know what I mean? Not just the big bulky things
Yeah.
before I can start to even think about lifting heavier.
Well, and let me just say, lifting heavy is like, I like to lift heavy, but I also know it's not going to be something I can do long term because it's hard on your body. And like, I think that I always say if it challenges you, it's changing you. So like you might go in and if you're only able to lift like the 5-pound weights and that's hard and you feel like by the end of your reps, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. Like, guess what? Like your body doesn't know that it's a 5-pound weight. Like your muscles know that that was hard.
it's you against yourself.
Yeah, it's you against you. And like if someone's like, I don't want to go in for an hour plus every day, I don't have the time. Start with 5 minutes. Just say, I'm going to spin on the bike or walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes. Guess what? If you got the 5 minutes, good job. You met your goal. If you decide, oh, this isn't so bad, I want to keep going, you make it to 10. Oh, it's not so bad. I could maybe go a little longer. Like you might surprise yourself that this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, or I have more in me than I thought I did. And
We all do.
on a day, we do. Yeah. And on a day that maybe you only make it 5 minutes, hey, that's all you were gonna do in the first place. So good job. You did your 5 minutes. Like, and I also want to say, like, one thing I really want Paradox to be is an inviting and motivating and uplifting space for everyone. I don't want there's some gyms that you can go into and feel really like intimidated or it is super bro-y or you just feel out of place like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna like I don't want to make a fool of myself or whatever. But like
It's not Venice Beach, bro. It's not Muscle Beach, man.
like I have wanted to create that environment in Paradox Fitness because I just want I want a space for people to better themselves, whatever that may be. Maybe it's mentally, physically, like whatever that outlet needs to be for them, if Paradox can be that space for them, like that's what I want to be able to provide.
I go there just about every day, and I have to say, all of the other gym members, they're like, everybody is so rad.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Like they typically in the gym now, it's headphones, right? Because I do my AirPods, and then
Mhm.
like you're just focused on what you're doing. Nobody's like looking around to see what weight you're doing or be like, look at that guy, he's looking. Yeah,
Yeah.
that just doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. So like if there's anybody out there that's on the fence about it, I mean, it is a wonderful and inviting place. And I love going there.
Thank you. I'm so glad. I love to hear that. Yeah, I had one member approach me a few months ago who told me that it almost made me cry because he said, I was going through some really horrible times. I was in probably the darkest space of my life. I didn't know if I wanted to be here anymore. And I found this space, and this space saved my life.
Fuck.
And I was just like, that is what I want to hear, because that just meant so much. Because
That's a goal. That's one of you. That was your goal.
yeah, if I can provide something for the community that brings them value, like
That's so
whatever way, yeah, it meant a lot.
Ooh.
So
I love that.
that's
I absolutely love that. So we kind of talked about some of the challenges in opening your gym. What was the biggest one? Financial?
yeah. I mean, so this was a little tricky. Like, I had thought I had an investor, and I signed a lease, and then I didn't have
Well,
an investor. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And that was literally like, and what had happened, it was like a cosigner. It was a cosigner on a loan, or I don't even specifically. Basically, they didn't approve my cosigner, and I had already signed the lease. And that was like, oops, Emma. I'm like, I was like, Dad would have been like, why did you do that? But yeah, so I was kind of scrambling. I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Through all that, did you keep faith in yourself, or what did it make you question?
Um,
Like, because being in fitness, right, and taking care of yourself, you have to have a lot of belief in yourself.
yeah, I mean, I think what it came down to was like, I have to find a way. Like, I will figure it out somehow, because I signed this lease. Like, I'm going to owe this money come May, when the money's due.
Yeah.
Like, I have to figure out how to make this happen. And honestly, like, the gym, even after we signed the lease, like, we went and ripped the stage out in there, and we started to get to work on the insides of it before I even knew if I had money to do it.
that's been.
And so, yeah, I think it really just came into believing that I will figure out a way somehow or another. And I looked into so many options. I mean, I applied for business loans and things. It's not that I didn't get approved. It's just the angel investor was the best
Option.
He in all honesty, like, he approached me. Like, I was looking into my options, and I kind of reached out to him, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can actually do this. He's like, money's not an option. I'll do it. Whatever you need, let me know.
God bless that man.
I was, and
I like that for you.
thank you. I don't know how it would have happened without him.
That's so cool, man.
But there are,
It had to happen.
yeah, it had to happen.
It had to.
So,
That's badass.
yeah.
So how do you stay motivated as a business owner, right? Well, and then like talking about you working out and going to your own gym, right? It's just like, oh, there's Emma. I want to go talk to her. Then you get interrupted all the time, yeah?
Oh, yeah, it's hard. I think that I have my time. That's like my workout time. And I think the morning crowd kind of knows that now, like, when Emma's here to work out.
Got to read it in.
Yeah, because it's my mental health, like, Emma without a workout is like a way more stressed Emma. And so, like, and yeah, I stop and like chat with people sometimes, but, or if there's a question, like, I'll stop and help them out real quick, and we get walk-ins and those things, they do happen. And I think I've had to just learn to let go of that control a little bit, which is really, having kid taught me that too. So yeah, I'm just saying we're doing something else now. But yeah, I mean, so staying motivated, like, I'm not gonna lie, I get exhausted. Like, there are days I get home and I'm like, I don't wanna do anything. I gotta get up and cook dinner now. So, but I don't know, when it comes to the business side of things, there's little things that have to happen, and no one else is going to do it but me. So fortunately, I have an incredible group of people who have become kind of part of Paradox. Some of my trainers and
Yeah.
people
Oh, yeah.
who can step in and be my eyes and help out on days that like I can't clean. Like, can you help me out on this day?
Back to that belief in self, right? Everything with fitness starts with self.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Starts with like how I, became like it was really funny. I joined your gym. I talked to you is when we did the other podcast, right? And I was like, oh, I'll pay for my months. And then like that was in August.
Yeah.
And it was only 2 months ago, right? So like 2 months ago. So like August to January, we called it the fat tax. When I worked at Power and Fitness, January 1st would come around. We would sell our package deal,
Yeah.
300 and I think it was $364 for 365 days. So $1 a day.
Yeah.
Right. And we would get hundreds and hundreds of new signed up. And then, 20% of them would become regulars and like Jamie coined that phrase. He's like, yeah, they're just paying the fat tax. I just wasn't doing it. My friends, Jeff and Jesse, got a home gym.
Okay.
And they were just like, they kept hitting me up and kept hitting me up. And they were just like, dude, you have to come out tonight and work out with us. And that started that spark.
Yeah.
And so the next day driving home from work, I was like, it starts today.
Good.
Because I started it the day before. I said, this is now a part of my life.
Yeah.
Right. The love of myself. I want to change myself for the better. I want to be healthy. Being 3 years from 50, right? 3 years from 50. I'm going to be fucking 50 years.
No stuff. Yeah.
Like for me, it started with wanting to be better for myself only, and then the benefits come. Like I might become a little bit easier on the eyes for the women out there.